He seemed to have lost the thread of his thought, and his eyes wandered uneasily to the closet door, which was firmly shut. "Would you like that open?" Harper asked.
No, he gave a nervous little laugh.
"What do I want to look at your overshoes for?" "The boogeyman got her too," Billings said. He brushed out his forehead as if sketching memories. "A month later. But something happened before that. I heard a noise in there one night, and then she screamed. I opened the door real quick. The hall light was on, and she was sitting up in the crib, crying, and something moved back in the shadows by the closet. Something slithered." "Was the closet door open?" "A little. Just a crack." Billings licked his lips. Cheryl was screaming about the boogeyman. Something else that sounded like claws, only she said craws, little kids have trouble with that L sound. Rita ran upstairs and asked what the matter was. I said she got scared by the shadows of the branches moving on the ceiling. "Closet," Harper said. "Huh?" Closet. Maybe she was trying to say closet." "Maybe," Billings said. "Maybe that was it, but I don't think so. I think it was claws." His eyes began seeking the closet door again. Claws. Long claws. His voice had sunk to a whisper. "Did you look in the closet?" Yes." Billings's hands were laced tightly across his chest, laced tightly enough to show a white moon at each knuckle. "Was there anything in there?" Did you see the—" "I didn't see anything," Billings screamed suddenly, and the words poured out as if a black cork had been pulled from the bottom of his soul. "When she died, I found her, see, and she was black, all black. She swallowed her own tongue, and she was just as black as a nigger in a minstrel show, and she was staring at me. Her eyes, they looked like those eyes you see on stuffed animals, all shiny and awful like live marbles, and they were saying, 'It got me, Daddy. You let it get me. You killed me. You helped it kill me.'" His words trailed off. One single tear, very large and silent, ran down the side of his cheek. It was a brain convulsion, see. Kids get those sometimes. A bad signal from the brain. They had an autopsy at Hartford receiving, and they told us she choked on her tongue from the convulsion. And I had to go home alone because they kept Rita under sedation. She was out of her mind. I had to go back to that house all alone, and I know a kid don't just get convulsions because their brain freaked up. You can scare a kid into convulsions. I had to go back to the house where it was. He whispered. I slept on the couch, with the light on. "Did anything happen?" "I had a dream," Billings said. "I was in a dark room and there was something I couldn't quite see in the closet. It made a noise, a squishy noise. It reminded me of a comic book I read when I was a kid. Tales from the Crypt, do you remember that? Christ, they had this guy named Gangrel Minkles. He could draw every god-awful thing in the world and some out of it. Anyway, in this story, this woman drowned her husband, see? Put cement blocks on his feet and dropped him into a quarry. Only he came back. He was all rotted and black-green, and the fish had eaten away one of his eyes, and there was seaweed in his hair. He came back and killed her. When I woke up in the middle of the night, I thought that would be leaning over me, with claws, long claws." Dr. Harper looked at the digital clock and sat into his desk. Lester Billings had been speaking for nearly half an hour. He said, "When your wife came back home, what was her attitude towards you?" "She still loved me," Billings said with pride. "She still wanted to do what I told her. That's the wife's place, right? This women's lib only makes sick people. The most important thing in life is for a person to know his place, his station in life. That's it." Billings snapped his fingers. "That's it exactly. And a wife should follow her husband." Oh, she was sort of colorless for the first 4 or 5 months after. Dragged around the house, didn't sing, didn't watch the TV, didn't laugh. And I knew she'd get over it. When they're that little, you don't get so attached to them. After a while, you have to go to the bureau drawer and look at a picture to even remember exactly what they looked like. She wanted another baby, he added darkly. I told her it was a bad idea. Oh, not forever, but for a while. I told her it was a time for us to get over things and begin to enjoy each other. We never had a chance to do that before. If you wanted to go to a movie, you had to hassle around for a babysitter. You couldn't go into town to see the Mets unless her folks would take the kids because my mom wouldn't have anything to do with us. Denny was born too soon after we were married, see. She said Rita was just a tramp, common little corner walker. Corner walker is what my mom always called them, isn't that a sketch? She sat me down once and told me diseases you can get if you went to a court to prostitute. How you pry your penis has just a little tiny sore on it one day, and then the next day it's rotting right off. She wouldn't even come to the wedding. Billings drummed his chest with his fingers. Rita's gynecologist sold her on this thing called an IUD, intrauterine device. Foolproof, the doctor said. He just sticks it up the woman's, her place, and that's it. If there's anything in there, the egg can't fertilize. You don't even know it's there. He smiled at the ceiling with dark sweetness. No one knows if it's there or not. And the next year, she's pregnant again. Some foolproof. No birth control method is perfect, Harper said. The pill is only 98%. The IUD may be ejected by cramps, strong menstrual flow, and in exceptional cases by evacuation. Yeah, or you can take it out. That's possible. So what's next? She's knitting little things, singing in the shower, and eating pickles like crazy, sitting on my lap, and saying things about how it must have been God's will. Piss. The baby came at the end of the year, after Cheryl's death. That's right, a boy. She named it Andrew Lester Billings. I didn't want anything to do with it, at least at first. My motto was she screwed up, so let her take care of it. I know how that sounds, but you have to remember that I've been through a lot. But I warmed up to him, you know? He was the only one of the litter that looked like me, for one thing. Danny looked like his mother, and Cheryl didn't look like anybody except maybe my Grammy Ann. But Andy was the spitting image of me. I'd get to playing around with him in his playpen when I got home from work. He'd grab only my finger and smile and gurgle. 9 weeks old, and the kid was grinning up at his dad. You believe that? Then one night, here I am, coming out of a drugstore with a mobile to hang over the kid's crib. Me. Kids don't appreciate presents until they're old enough to say thank you. That was always my motto. But there I was, buying him silly crap, and all at once I realized I love him the most of all. I had another job by then, a pretty good one, selling drill bits for Cluett & Sons. I did real well, and when Andy was 1, we moved to Waterbury. The old place had too many bad memories. And too many closets. That next year was the best one for us. I'd give every finger on my right hand to have it back again. Oh, the war in Vietnam was still going on, and the hippies were still running around with no clothes on, and the niggers were yelling a lot, but none of that touched us. We were on a quiet street with nice neighbors. We were happy, he summed up simply. I asked Rita once if she wasn't worried. You know, bad luck comes in threes and all that. She said not for us. She said Andy was special. She said God had drawn a ring around him. Billings looked morbidly at the ceiling. Last year wasn't so good. Something about the house changed. I started keeping my boots in the hall because I didn't like to open the closet door anymore. I kept thinking, well, what if it's in there? I'll crouch down and ready to spring the second I open the door. And I'd started thinking I could hear squishy noises as if something black and green and wet was moving around in there just a little.